Hi friend, welcome to the Quiet Connections podcast. Do you feel anxious and not good enough in social situations? Feel like you're weird, broken or don't fit in? You are not alone. Join Hayley and Stacey on a journey to quiet confidence, picking up key insights to help you feel more calm and confident, so you can finally speak up, join in and feel like you belong too.
Hey, Stacey here, and welcome back to the Quiet Connections podcast. I'm not riding solo today. Nope. Today's episode is being co-hosted again with our lovely Quiet community member, Julia. You had such a great time interviewing Fiona Campbell-Howes in a past episode on self-care in the workplace that she wanted to do it all over again. How awesome is that? So in this episode, myself and Julia are chatting to Amanda Winwood, CEO and Queen of Hugs of Made for Life Organics and founder of the Made for Life Foundation. She is also a Reiki master, therapist, and teacher of mindfulness. We're talking all about self-love and acceptance today, which I know can feel so hard for so many of us. It's a process that takes time and can present its own challenges as we begin to take those steps towards loving ourselves. So I hope that Amanda's experiences and her story inspires you to keep moving towards that place of compassion, because you 100% deserve it. Hi, Julia. Hi, Amanda. How are you both doing today?
I'm very well, thanks.
Really good, thank you.
Very good.
Lovely. So, Julia, you've actually done an episode of us before, which some of you might remember when we were speaking to Fiona, and that was all about self-care in the business, workplace type thing. And also you've done a couple of other bits with us before, but you also already know Amanda a bit, don't you?
Yes, I do. It's quite a funny story, but Amanda and I did a TED Talk on the exact same day back in October 2019. And I knew Amanda from before, but also it's the first time I was actually meeting her. And her TED Talk was absolutely fantastic. It was extremely inspiring, and I thought she could be a great interviewee for this episode of the podcast. Just because after we had both talk, we kind of chatted in the little kitchen room or the little like gathering area where the event was taking place. And I don't know, I just felt this very intense connection with Amanda, very genuine, very human, and it really, really, I don't know, I just felt really connected and really in sync. And I think that her story and these vibes that she gives around to people and that emanates from her can be truly inspiring for the rest of the community.
No pressure there then.
And I must admit, I attended that TED Talk, which had both of you speaking that day, which is obviously how I met you, Julia. And you were both so amazing, absolutely amazing. So, Amanda, would you like to start by just introducing yourself and what it is that you do and who you are?
Yeah, for sure. So I am the founder of Made for Life Organics. So if anybody's round and about in Truro, they will know that the Health and Wellbeing Innovation Centre is next to the Royal Cornwall Hospital. And in that beautiful space, we take plants and herbs and we still blend them in a way that we've used for nearly 20 years now. So we take organic herbs and flowers, we think about the properties of them in terms of the actual chemistry of the plant, and then also the scent, and we make some very beautiful skincare. Now, the interesting thing with that is that the skincare is really gorgeous for sensitive and sensitized skin. And on my journey through this world and this life and this business, I discovered that 96% of people going through cancer were being turned away from spas. and we were doing quite a lot of work with people with cancer with our skincare anyhow. And I just thought, God, this is really wrong. So alongside the business, I set up a charity called the Made for Life Foundation, and we've done a lot of work with women and men living with cancer. But we also go into spas and train some very beautiful rituals that are slow and calming and very nurturing, that welcome means that a spa can welcome in anybody, because I think wellness should be accessible for all. So we've trained over 2,000 therapists, and I'm not stopping, as Julia will remember, and you, Stacey, as I put my pants of power on the stage, and I said I'm not stopping until 96% becomes yes, throw those spa doors wide. So that's me. And I live in Cornwall and Spain, and I'm speaking to you from the heart of Spain this evening too.
Amazing.
I did actually buy some of your products for Christmas for my family and for myself, and I can say that it smells absolutely divine every time I take a shower. So thank you for that.
Oh, I feel like I need to get myself some.
Beautiful products.
Thank you. So I'm glad, Julia, that you're using them, because actually one of the things that happens is, I think it's probably become very evident too, is we all need to look after ourselves. And there's this word that we think we're going to talk about tonight called self-love, and a lot of the thinking behind our products is about the concept of self-love, and actually taking time to just give yourself a personal hug in whatever way that is.
That's really interesting. I really like this idea. So, I mean, when you talk about self-love, what does that actually mean to you?
What does self-love mean to me? I think it's about the art of being gentle to yourself, and it's not a normal, natural state. I think actually there's even some research that women are much worse at self-love than men. Hashtag just saying. So we, as beings, we tend to, we've almost got a habit of looking at our frailties, and I think women are exceptionally brilliant at beating ourselves up for not doing a good enough job often. But actually, if we had the ability to step back and almost look at ourselves from a distance, I think we'd probably we'd cultivate the ability to think we're quite exceptional. We're quite exceptional, and so the art of self-love is being able to move from that space of self-criticism to actually almost recognize that there's a very beautiful little person inside of us that deserves our love and care. And if we cultivate that gentleness and that kindness that we offer probably to a lot of human beings that surround us, and if we cultivate that ability to do that internally and go, do you know what, you're really okay. I love you. Thank you for giving me all the gifts that you have given me. Then it changes your ability to even operate in these really, really tough times. I think that that COVID has forced huge tranches of us to sit with ourselves for extended periods of time, and that's not an easy thing to do for anybody. And so if you can actually use that time to cultivate an ability to just go, you know what, you're okay, to stand in front of the mirror and go, you are really okay. I think you're a beautiful human being, and that's, for me, that's self-love. And I, this is taking it in its simplest form. And it's not an easy thing to do. You know, people, you say the word self-love and people go, oh God, you know, can't do that. And because it's very close to selfish. But it's so different to being selfish. Selfish is when you don't care about others and your behaviors and how they affect others. So actually, in a way, self-love is the opposite of selfish. It cultivates the ability to love yourself and therefore love others.
I love what you just said there, because one of the things that I recognized within myself when I started going down this path of practicing more self-compassion and finding more self-acceptance and that within myself was that I realized I had a lot of shame around actually treating myself that way. I felt like I actually had to criticize myself and be harsh on myself, because otherwise I would be perceived as arrogant or ignorant or selfish, like you said, and that itself felt really shameful for me. And I know I've recognized that in a lot of the clients that I've worked with as well, this sense of like it's unacceptable to treat ourselves that way. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think that's such an important aspect for us to address and to look at, that perhaps like when we do start to practice some of these self-love and self-compassion practices, that it can maybe sometimes trigger some of those shameful feelings. And actually, what would you recommend to someone when they're going down that route to I don't know, to start this journey? What would be like the first step?
Oh, in Spain, there's a saying which is poco poco, little by little, and I love that. I love that expression. So it's actually start on a journey of kindness. You're not going to run down a track, because often if you think, oh, I'm going to achieve great levels of self-love immediately by I'm going to do all these things that make me feel better about life. It becomes a chore rather than a joy. So I think there's a path to be had that makes you, because I go back to, we are absolute geniuses at feeling guilty. Women, we're almost programmed to do it. But actually, if you just do little things, then it becomes more easy. And that a little thing could be simply, I will gift myself the pleasure of walking quietly through a park or in a forest, or I will gift myself 15 minutes of just listening to my favorite music or reading a book. So it doesn't have to be, oh, I'm going to go off and climb the Himalayas and go and practice, mindfulness and meditation and chanting Om for a week, which is kind of a celebrity approach, I guess. But and not all of us will have the money to do that, or the will, and actually we couldn't probably do it at the minute anyhow, because nobody can travel. But there are very, very simple little things, and the poco poco, little by little, is just a little something. And I think inside us all, from being a child, we will recognize things that make us feel better about life. And that might be simple things like cooking your favorite meal. It may be just standing on the beach and listening to the waves as they come in and out, and watching and seeing the seagulls. And maybe it's being blown in a storm, and maybe it's just doing yoga or just practicing breathing. Those are little things, but you know what? Those things are what we're meant to do. They're normal. They're normal things that every human being has an absolute right to enjoy. We have an absolute right to be healthy and well and to care for ourselves. That's what we should be doing.
That's really interesting that you say that, because usually in my experience, practicing self-love and trying to get into that mindset and trying to implement it poco a poco, as you say. I do find it's quite challenging because over me, there's always these external expectations from the world, whether it's from family, whether it's from colleagues, whether it's from society in general, that looms above our wish to love ourselves. And I find it really hard to do that, while at the same time there's always a lot of comparison, there's always a lot of external expectations that you never seem to be able to reach. And my questions around that would be around, how do you achieve self-love despite all of these expectations happening around you?
That's a really good question.
That's a great question.
So I think that in life, at the end of our days, who are you answerable to? So, I'm 58 and I've got two beautiful daughters who will have an expectation of their mum and various other people. But actually, there's something about when people do that and you start to think, oh, well, they expect me to do this and they expect me to be this. You need to maybe, my thing that I would do is I'd sit quietly with myself and say, well, what do I expect from myself? If I was having a conversation with my future self, what would I like to be saying that I've achieved? And how, because that nobody else's opinion matters. Because my opinion about who I am as a human being is the one that's going to see me through to the end of my days, when I'm sitting quietly in a chair with lots of people maybe around me, or in a quiet space. It's maybe the thing to do is to create a future history for yourself, and to think about, what do I expect from myself? And if I was 70 years old and reflecting on my life and my expectations of myself, who should I be fulfilling? Other people or just me?
I really like that practice. What was that you called it? A future
Creating a future history.
Future history.
We've got all these things in our head, and we've got our brains. It's Julia's got a great expression she's mentioned earlier about these brains. Our imagination is a gift. So if we can, and everybody's got an imagination, it's our gift. So you create a future history, and you imagine you sitting with yourself quietly thinking, do I love myself? And have I, in terms of my expectations, have I been what I expected? Have I been what I expected?
It's about taking the focus away from, or I suppose giving the power to everyone else and reclaiming that back for yourself.
For ourselves,
actually.
Yeah.
And
that's really
and
beautiful.
you know what? There's an amazing word. I found that there's a gift, and it's a word, and it's called no.
Oh, I've struggled with that word.
Yes, me too. I do struggle with it.
No. Can it? And I think it's great to say yes to adventures and things that we think, ooh, but also there's it's an amazing gift just to say no, thank you, or no, I'm not going to do that. And actually, once you've said no once, it becomes really easy to say it again. So yeah, because otherwise, I think when you say no to somebody, I think most people expect people to say yes. And when you say no, thank you. No, I'm not going to do that. No. If you say no because you're dealing with potentially, I call them mood hoovers sometimes. So, you'll possibly be with somebody where you just, there should be an energy flow, a positive energy flow with people that we interact with, and it can be gentle and it can be kind, it can be liberating, but there should always be something beautiful there. But so saying no to people who don't make us feel okay is okay.
I like that. The way I like to try to remember that sometimes is that, every time you say yes to something, you're also saying no to something else. And if that something else is important to you, and actually you're sacrificing something that's of importance or of benefit to you and your own well-being, then that's a huge sacrifice that you're making, and placing so much value on everyone else and everything else around you, but at the detriment of your own energy and your own sense of well-being.
Yeah, it's true. So we can't control a lot in life, but we can control this. And there's a lovely saying that I really adore, and it says the difference between an adventure and an ordeal is attitude. So I think we're in the age of uncertainty, which could be regarded as the age of adventure, if you wanted to reposition and have a bit of fun with that amazing brain that sits between your ears. But it is that sort of thing of just changing the focus. And your thing that you just said, Stacey, about, when you say no to something, another door will open that will be a big fat yes.
Everything you're saying, Amanda, resonates so much with me. It's really interesting. I do have quite a few questions that pops up in my mind. The first one is with this whole saying no more often. I kind of have a question around, do you think that self-love and assertiveness go hand in hand?
Do I think self-love and assertiveness go hand in hand? I think yes to a degree. I think assertiveness sometimes is used in such a way that you start to think of people who are almost, I think there's a confusion between assertiveness and aggression, and I think there's a fine line. Assertiveness can be construed as being forcing your opinion onto others and your will, but I think I think assurance, a quiet assuredness, as opposed to assertiveness, would be more about self-love. I think assertiveness is an interesting word. I think probably if maybe I'm would be regarded as assertive. I certainly I've got views about things, and I'm very passionate about this amazing planet and so on and so forth. And so I can be probably quite assertive in some views about pesticides and things and plastic and so on. But I think Julia, I'd use the word self-assured is self-love as opposed to assertive. It's having that very quiet confidence there that is like your anchor in a way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I can really feel the difference between the two with what you're saying.
Yeah,
I do like that word.
Yeah, I think that's a really nice approach to it, being self-assured. And again, like I talk a lot to the people in our community about this sense of quiet confidence, and again that to me feels very different to this perception of what many of us believe like confidence is, which can sometimes be misconstrued as aggression almost, that it's about forcing yourself into situations and being like, I suppose, a larger figure in certain situations, whereas like quiet confidence is more about having that sense of trust within ourselves and that assurance within ourselves that actually we stand in our values and we stand in our truth, and that I suppose whatever whatever situations that we come up against, that we believe that we're grounded enough to be able to manage and handle any of those situations. And again, like what you were saying, Amanda, I feel like that really is rooted in that sense of self-acceptance and self-compassion and self-love for ourselves.
Yeah. So, assertiveness has a role to play, but I think a gentle, quiet confidence that is rooted in you knowing who you are, and actually we all will waver. No one's ever going to be self-assured all the time. That's illegal. But just coming back, and there's something about about using the breath to reroute with that just quiet space within you that gives you that self-assuredness, so that that gentle, almost, instead of the inhalation, it's just get rooted by the breathe out and come back to that space.
Is that a technique that you use regularly?
Honestly, yes yes is the short answer to that. There's a lot of clinical studies and really interesting work around this, but for me, if I ever feel panicky, so I'll tell you a story. So I had to get over to Spain to get my Spanish residency. Thank you, Boris and Brexit, you who are, to come over here. And it was a big adventure to get here. And then I had to go into the police station in Tarragona. And Jeff, the hubster, had an amazing experience. He just breezed in, got the paperwork sorted out, and that was all great. And I could feel, I thought, oh, my experience will be the same. I felt a little anxious about it because it's not often you go into a police station, to be quite frank, even more so where Spanish is not your first language. And I had I didn't have the same experience as Jeff. I had two women who one who told me that it was illegal for me to have a fringe in my new in my passport photograph in Spain. So I just kept saying, and I used the breath. So I was feeling quite, oh my God, I'm trying to speak Spanish. I've got a woman who's speaking very fast, actually, Catalan, and I could feel a little flurry developing, because usually I feel stuff in my gut first, so I could feel the bubbles, and I just thought, Amanda Jane, just take the breath. And so I just stopped myself and just looked at her, and I find smiling helps, because you start to send brain messages up there, and the brain's going, what the hell is she smiling about? And the brain's going, well, it feels kind of groovy, let's just go with this. But it makes you change your breath. So instead of going like this, I go like this. Probably didn't do it quite so heavily in the police station. I breathed out, and then I just smiled at this person and said, gracias para ti ayuda, which means thank you for your help. And she wasn't actually being particularly helpful, but you know what? It changed the relationship between me and her. So yes, I use the breath all the time. If I'm going to speak at a big event, if I know I've got a big presentation, then I'll just quietly do some really, really slow, deep breaths, and I use that all the time, Julia. I used to use it when I was in the office, and I used to think, people think she's a lunatic here. So I used to go off to the loo to do these little breathing exercises, and I think my team thought I had an incontinence issue, but anyhow. So if I feel myself having bubbles or little anxieties, I've almost trained my brain now to just go, and when you breathe out, there's something about releasing all those inner bubbles and that tension, and then it's gone. So that was a very long and a short answer for your question.
I love it though. You shared, a really helpful technique there that people can have a go at and take away. And likewise, I like what you said there about that you've trained your brain to respond in that way, because I know from personal experience that actually when people first started telling me that I needed or that I would be beneficial to try out some breathing exercises, the first couple of times that I did it, I was like, this is doing nothing. I thought, wow, this is all just rubbish. Like, this isn't going to work at all. And it wasn't until a couple of years later when I tried it again and I had like some guided practice and stuff with doing it, and actually stuck at doing that practice, that I realized that over time and with that commitment and with that regular practice, if I can say that word any more times, that your body does naturally start to I suppose like start responding more naturally when you find yourself in situations where you're starting to feel a bit panicked or you're feeling anxious, that rather, like you said, your body going and like tensing up, instead it goes, oh, I know what to do in this situation, and that's just let out that exhale.
That's it.
And like that. But it does take some time.
It does take time, but if you make it a regular practice, and every time you feel that little anxiety thing come up, if you just, because when we're born, the first thing we do is we've been enveloped in this beautiful, safe, warm, dark place, being held, and then we come out into a bright, cold place, and even our first breath is like, oh my God, what's happening? So it's an inherent part of who we are. So to reprogram it's not going to come at the click of a finger. But if anybody wanted to have a little try, this is quite interesting to do this. So I'm not recommending that people go and stand in the sea now, but we've got all these people who are doing, wild swimming and stuff. Now, if you want to dip your toes in the sea, our natural reaction, even in the summer in the UK, is like that. And then the whole body goes, and then we try and stand on our tiptoes for as long as possible and immerse as the minimum amount of our body in the sea. Now, this is a really interesting thing, because if you actually reverse this and you breathe out instead of breathing in, you watch what happens, because I promise you'll get into that sea more quickly than anybody else. You just have to breathe out, breathe out, breathe out. I swam on New Year's Day doing this, I can tell you.
That's a great tip.
It's really interesting, and it works very well with panicky type effects. Both my daughters have suffered with anxiety, especially around exams and things. And we'd sit and I just say, now breathe out, now breathe out, now breathe out. But keep and if you don't get it right straight away, and as you say, Stacey, it takes time. Just practice it, and maybe imagine yourself in a beautiful space that makes you feel calm. Maybe it's a beautiful forest, and you can hear the sound of a gentle breeze coming through the leaves, and that you can smell the scent of the pine and the wood, and maybe there's some bird song and something that makes you feel calm. Or maybe you're standing with your feet grounded on some warm sand, and you can hear the sound of the sea coming in and out. And if you create this beautiful image and immerse yourself in that, I find that, for me, those are two spaces that I found as part of my practice. They just worked. They worked for me.
Yeah, that just reminded me of a couple of years ago when I was graduating from the Lloyd School for Social Entrepreneurs program, and I was about to do a presentation in front of a room of 100 people, and I was absolutely terrified. But before I went on stage, and I sat on like the side of the stage waiting to go on, and I just sat there in front of everyone and was like, did some breathing exercises. And as I was doing that, I was visualizing being on a beach with feeling the warm sand underneath my toes and just feeling like the water kind of as it laps over your skin and feeling the warmth of the sunshine. And yeah, it helped so much, so much. And like, I still to this day feel like that was the best presentation and bit of public speaking that I've ever done, which was huge for me because usually I would be like a shaking mess and my legs would be shaking and it would just have been a horrible experience. But having learned some of those practices, and I think also giving myself permission to know that it would be okay even if it did go wrong, was really, really helpful.
Yeah, well done you. Very good.
Yeah. It's great that you're sharing these tips and all these I would say helpful behavior, Amanda, that you've put in place throughout the time. But I was kind of wondering, how did you start that journey of self-love?
So I think where does a journey of self-love start? I think probably when we're all little. We, when we're bumbling around and we're really little and we actually love ourselves, don't we? As a child, I don't know many children who sort of when in our really early formative years aren't just, we love ourselves. But so to answer your question, I think an awareness of gifting time probably started with I still have a very vivid memory of being a 7-year-old child with my mum taking me along to yoga classes in the heart of Cheshire with possibly one of the only Indian ladies who was in Cheshire at the time, because it was not multicultural at all in Cheshire. And this beautiful Indian lady moved to our village where I was brought up, and mum, my lovely mum, started yoga classes with her and got a group of women to go and do yoga. And as a 7-year-old child, I remember going to Mare's house, and I remember watching these women, stressed housewives, and sitting at the back of this this room, because I was pretty sickly as a child on and off. And I remember walking in, and the scent of spices, the warm spices in this house and Mare's studio was full of light, and I watched these women as a 7-year-old child. I still remember watching these women have an hour of and see them move from being tense and all this sort of thing to just being serene. So I think there's a nugget, Julia, inside from there that's probably sat there, a little nugget from being a 7-year-old. But I think my I went through quite a challenging childhood. My mum left our family home when I was 13 to run off to Spain to live with an artist. And my dad was not the easiest man at all to live with. He hadn't been very involved in Kate, my sister, or my upbringing, so he was pretty hopeless and could be fairly aggressive at times. And so I think that in terms of self-love, I don't think I loved myself very much as a teenager. Because I was left with, well, why did mum leave us, and all of that kind of thing, and why is dad being like this? So I think probably it took me really until probably my 30s to actually go to stand in front of a mirror, and I was working. I was signed up to do some training, because I was started to be really interested in how does the brain affect your behaviour. And I'd studied to be a massage therapist and done all sorts of interesting work, which again was probably rooted in well-being. But I do remember sort of taking a long, hard look at myself in my 30s, thinking, you know, I think it's probably you've done enough beating yourself up for who you are, and it's about time you actually just need to go, you're okay. And I reflected on some of the stuff that I'd done that was pretty amazing. You know, I launched corporate hospitality onto Tower Bridge, and I did all sorts of fundraising and all sorts of things. And I thought, you know what, you're okay, actually. So please don't, you know, and don't let your childhood and all these feelings that you had as being not good enough because of your childhood to create a future history that you don't want. Create your future history. So I think it started, Julia, really when I was in my 30s, that I started to really do the work. And I think possibly, you know, some young women will start down this. Maybe I've seen my Hannah in her early 20s start a real massive transformation. But there's still, I think, when you're in your early 20s, you said something earlier, Julia, you know, we go around trying to please other people and live up to expectations and so on and so forth. And I think until you go through that and have had a big chunk of a journey in life and are in your sort of mid-20s, maybe for me personally, it was my early 30s that I just thought, actually, Amanda Jane, you need to live your life and you need to be proud of the woman that you are. So there you go.
How powerful was that? That was really beautiful. And yeah, there's something you said there that I feel like really resonated around needing to go through those experiences. That feels like something that I've been reflecting on quite a bit recently, of like all the things that I've experienced in life and all the things that I've been through that have been painful and that have felt like a struggle. I've been sitting here recently thinking like there are lessons within all of that, and I've had to have experienced all those things for me to learn important aspects about who I am and what I'm capable of and what I'm here to be, who I'm here to be.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel very much the same around exactly that thing that you said around experiences, that it's also building ourselves and becoming through all those experiences that we go through to actually get to a point where you decide which direction you want to take from all the information that you've gathered and all the emotions you've experienced. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Amanda.
That's okay.
I think that definitely resonated with me, and I'm sure it will resonate with others.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of people listening to this right now going, oh God, yeah. And if not, then perhaps, you know, starting to offer a bit of a different perspective on perhaps some of the things that people have experienced in life.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do here around letting go of the past as well, which I feel is also part of the journey of self-love, though I do find it's quite hard to do. I still feel that it feels to me, Amanda, that there's also this part of letting go process that goes on to love ourselves, our present selves, a bit more.
Definitely. And I think, you know, it's well, we start off and if we in life and we take our first steps and we're light and we skip along, don't we, as children, and then we hit school. And then what happens at school is I think we start to accumulate the baggage of life. So, you know, if you're brilliant at school and you're made to stand up in the class because you've achieved an A in an exam or something like that, and your best friend got D, you kind of think, oh, I did so well, and then you think, oh God, I feel so bad because my best friend didn't do so well, and now I think maybe I shouldn't do so well, and you know, we accumulate all this baggage and people's expectations, our expectations of ourselves, things that have hurt us, things that we've done that we think may have hurt others, and we carry this thing that becomes a a sodding great huge heavy rucksack full of bricks. And actually,
Definitely.
you know what, it's a joy to skip through life. So I highly recommend that if you have a huge great rucksack that represents the baggage of life with all your hurts and pains and grief and sadness, take it off your back, dump it on the side of the road and skip along away from it and say goodbye, thank you very much, you're gone.
That's amazing. That just reminded me of a practice that I did a couple of years ago that involved visualizing carrying a backpack that had loads of limiting self-beliefs in, and then taking off that backpack, putting it down and picking up a new one that had loads of like more nicer beliefs and a new story about myself. So yeah, I like that.
Yeah. It's
and again, there's still can be a challenging process, and
yeah, none of
one that can take time.
This is simple. You know, it's easy to talk about it, but it's like everything in life. It's having a self-awareness and being kind to yourself. Maybe, you know, maybe there should be a new word, and we all talk about mindfulness. Maybe there should be kindfulness. Maybe
I like that.
Shouldn't we? And maybe we should be kind. There should be the act of kindfulness, where we're kind to ourselves, and maybe that sits alongside mindfulness. But it's just I'm going to be aware, and I'm going to be kind to myself because I deserve it.
And we all deserve it. Yeah.
As the famous words of that advert for some makeup brand, isn't it? Because I'm worth it.
Oh yeah.
Let's not go there.
I think we mean made for life.
Yes, of course. But yeah. So the art of kindfulness,
Okay.
that's what we need to do.
That's beautiful.
That's a good word.
Lovely. So Amanda, just to start wrapping things up, what words of kindness do you have that you could extend to our quiet community and to those who are listening to this podcast right now?
Well, I've mentioned my very lovely spirited mum who decided that she was going to be brave and follow her life, where from being deeply unhappy and so on, and she wrote me a long poem not long before my 16th birthday, and she wrote it, and she died about 3 weeks after she wrote it. So, but you know, the words have stayed with me like an anchor, and there's some wisdom there. So I thought I'd share them because I think they will resonate with some people listening. I hope they resonate. They've been my anchor from 16-year-old, and whenever I've felt adrift, I've come back to these words. So I'm just going to share a couple of passages from the poem that she wrote me, if that's okay.
Yeah, that sounds
Absolutely.
beautiful.
So what she said was, she said, have confidence, be brave in this wide world. Fear nothing, for fear is a canker which gnaws at the core and damages the fruit. But fill your heart with love, for love is at the root of all life's joy and mystery.
I love that.
That's beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And I think that, you know, for me, that kind of sums it up. And the self-love is love, for love is at the root of all life's joy and mystery, for yourself and for others.
Well, that seems like a really lovely place to end this conversation, although I'm sure there is so much more that we could all be talking about. So thank you so much, Amanda, for coming on and sharing all of your beauty and your wisdom with us all. And thank you, Julia, for co-hosting with me today. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you both.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
It's been great. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting me. You're Very beautiful. And for anybody who's listening, you need to say this to yourself: I love you, and it's going to be okay.
I love you, and it's going to be okay. Wow. Powerful words at the end there. It's easy for us to underestimate the impact our choice of words have on us and how we feel about ourselves. But science has proven that words that are rooted in love, compassion, and joy have a higher vibration that rings throughout our bodies, which directly impacts our energy and our emotions. So have a go at repeating those words to yourself on a daily basis with an open mind and an open heart, and just simply explore how that feels for you, and with time, what difference it makes. We can't wait to share next week's episode with you out on Tuesday. So be sure to tune in again. And in the meantime, stay connected.
Thanks for listening. You can find the show notes from this episode at quietconnections.co.uk. If you found this episode helpful, then please tell a friend about it or share on social media.
With gratitude for the support of the National Lottery Community Fund.